want to do 2 more examples with you and then let you try some on your own. X squared minus 2x minus 35 here. So on this question, a is equal to 1 again. You might think b is 2, but b is actually negative 2. There are minuses in the equation here, and it might be easier to think of them as being plus a negative. You can always think of it that way because, are you ready? Subtraction is the same as addition of the opposite. Write it down. Then c, for the same reason, is going to be negative 35. A is 1, b is negative 2, c is negative 35. So what's going to happen here is we'll split this bx term, this negative 2x term, we'll split it into 2 pieces. We want to find 2 numbers that add up to negative 2, and they multiply to AC, which is 1 times negative 35, so that's negative 35. Well, 35, there aren't that many ways to multiply and get 35 as an answer. 1 and 35, of course, but the only other one is 5 and 7. We need to get negative 35, so one of them has to be negative. It either has to be negative 5 and 7 or 5 and negative 7. Which ones add up to negative 2, though? As it turns out, it has to be negative 7 and 5 in order to add up to negative 2. So I will write it like this. X squared plus 5x plus negative 7x plus negative 35. So now we can do just what we've been doing. We can factor by grouping. I'll put parentheses around the first 2 terms and parentheses around the second 2 terms. And we can factor out the GCF from each set of parentheses. X squared and 5x, the GCF is x. What will remain in parentheses is x plus 5. If you're not sure about that, check the distributive, or rather use the distributive property to check it. And then here, negative 7x and negative 35, well, they're both divisible by 7. So we can pull a 7 out in front, and what remains then is negative x plus negative 5. This is when we have to check and make sure that both sets of parentheses are the same. X plus 5, negative x plus negative 5, they're not exactly the same. So what do we do here? They're the right numbers, they're just the wrong signs. What we're going to do instead of factoring out 7 is factor out negative 7. We are allowed to do that, and that will make the signs work out correctly. So let me erase that, and let's try again. We'll say negative 7 here, and then negative 7 times x, and negative 7 times 5 will give us what we need. We have the same thing in parentheses, x plus 5 both places. And then, after we factor out that x plus 5, what remains? X plus negative 7. I can say x plus negative 7, or for short, I can just say x minus 7 if I want to, which is okay because, as you know, subtraction is the same as addition of the opposite. And of course, I will highlight my answer because that's what we do around here. And there's my answer. If you said x plus negative 7, it's fine. And if you did it so that x minus 7 came first and the x plus 5 came afterward, that's also fine because multiplication is commutative. Example for you. X squared plus 32x plus 220. I really want to talk about the shortcut here because it will save you a lot of effort. We're looking for 2 numbers that add up to 32 and multiply to give you 220. Well, let's look at the factors of 220. 1 and 220 doesn't add up. 2 and 110, not divisible by 3. 4 and 55. 5 and 44, not divisible by 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. But the next pair you come across is 10 and 22. 10 times 22 is 220. 10 plus 22 is 32. That's the pair of numbers we need. I don't know if you've noticed, but every time we do this, the 2 numbers we split this into wind up just being the numbers in parentheses at the end. So if you know those 2 numbers, you've got your answer. Oops, that's the calligraphy pen. That's not the regular pen. So when it's 10 and 22, all we have to say is x plus 10 and x plus 22, and that actually is our final answer. This is a shortcut, and it only works when a is 1. That is to say it's 1x squared or just a plain x squared. If you have a different number out in front of x squared, this shortcut doesn't work. But for now, this is a great shortcut to have. You can just say x plus 10, x plus 22, and that's it. That's your final answer. If you're ever not sure about this, you can always check it. You can make a Punnett square or use FOIL, and it'll come out the right way. I would like you to try some of these now. So I am going to put up, sorry, gotta move my screen around here. I'm going to put up some practice questions. I'd like you to pause the video. I'd like you to try these, figuring out what adds up to 12 and multiplies to 20. Then what adds up to 9 and multiplies to 20. What adds up to negative 25 and multiplies to 100. Here's a hint, they're both negative. And then what adds up to negative 5 and multiplies to negative 24. And your hint here is that one is positive, one is negative. So go ahead, pause your video. Answers. X squared plus 12x plus 20. You're looking for the two numbers that add up to 12 and multiply to 20. 2 and 10 are the choices you need here. So x plus 2 times x plus 10. Or you could say 10 first and 2 second. That's fine. Next one, x squared plus 9x plus 20. The two numbers you need are 4 and 5. 4 plus 5 is 9. 4 times 5 is 20. Anytime you're not sure, you can always check these with FOIL or a Punnett square. This one where they have to add to negative 25 and multiply to positive 100. Keep in mind that negative times negative equals a positive. So we're looking for two negatives. X minus 20 times x minus 5. And then the last one where they add to negative 5 and multiply to negative 24, one must be positive, one must be negative. The way it works out is x minus 8, x plus 3 works out. Because negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5, negative 8 times 3 is negative 24.